Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast from your host, ImperialDane, featuring a 1 versus 1 on Moscow Outskirts. Yes, indeed, Moscow Outskirts in a summer or autumn version. Yes, there's been another patch out, which again means a huge chunk of replays just went straight out the window, and which meant I once more had to quickly get off a good game and put that up because, again, yes, you're going to see me versus another guy, and again, I didn't really have much else to do. Again, when they keep patching, I have to, make do with what there is, and that usually tends to be my own replays because most others tend to not get them out that fast. So, for those that are complaining, if you're complaining, you're utterly missing the point, and you're horrible, terrible people. Well, maybe not, but you really should reconsider your mode of actions. Anyways, we shall be watching me, ImperialDane, fighting for the Wehrmacht, fighting for the Panzergrenadier Division Feldherrnhalle, an elite Panzergrenadier division formed out of the former Sturmabteilung troops, named after the Field Marshal's Halt. And we are noting here Raindrop fighting for the Soviets, fighting for the 179th Rifle Division. Conscripts popping out there, and it's only very different to see this map, in the less than a wintry position. I'm used to having played much of this as a winter map, so all of a sudden seeing it as something not like that is certainly different. And also I'm used to only playing it as a 2 versus 2, so having it as a 1 versus 1 is also a bit interesting. So I rather had to immediately set up a plan of action on the go. I rather went for the right hand side since I figured the victory point was closer there, and I figured that would be more to my advantage. Apparently, for some reason, Raindrop had the exact same idea, considering he had the fuel point closer to him there, so I clearly did not think right ahead there. Grenadiers popping out there, but again, I'm sticking to the initial plan, which is more of a right hand side advance. They're slightly spreading in towards the centre, and looks like Raindrop is largely doing the same, although I did have also another reason I went for the right hand side is due to the munitions point there. I wanted a lot of munitions right away. So Raindrop moving in there towards the Grenadiers of the Feldherrnhalle, and as an elite Panzergrenadier division it was somewhat better equipped. It actually had half tracks, it actually had some tanks in its Panzer battalion rather than Stugs. So it had some slight advantage right there in terms of equipment. Pioneers versus combat engineers right over here by the right victory point. A brutal engagement. Submachine guns versus rifles. The submachine guns tearing into the combat engineering, while the conscripts and grenadiers fight out there. Grenadiers slowly going to advance up there, and we see an MG42 popping out. And there we go, another combat engineer goes down. The pioneers in fact are getting awfully close to Veteran G2, Veteran G1 by the way. This is definitely going to be nice. The engagement continues here, with a third squad of grenadiers on the way. In the meanwhile, we note here that Raindrop is focusing rather heavily on the west, while I'm being held up here by him. But ultimately, we see here the pioneers do win the fight. MG4 moving up to support. Grenadiers securing the centre. The grenadiers squad on the way. Raindrop so far with 3 conscript squads. Might get a 4th, or he might decide to tech up. And there we go, the conscripts right there coming under intense fire from the heavy machine gun. Pinned to the ground like bugs. And there we go, being run off. Ivan going down on the retreat with a very accusatory stare in his eyes as he watches his comrades flee in front of his very eyes. Sneaking slightly towards the west now. Grenadiers support by the MG moving up there. And we're also noting here that he's rushing very much for the fuel point. Of course, I know due to this map that any resources in the west side are being controlled via this strategic point. So if I can control that, I can rather dime any fuel. And of course, we also note here that Raindrop is in fact rushing for both, so he's clearly got something nasty in mind. And there we go, Special Rifle Command also looks like he is in fact getting a 4th squad of conscripts. Grenadiers moving up there. One upgrade with a light machine gun. Again, the early munitions point rather gave me a lot more munitions, and at this stage I'm feeling bold enough to go for the light machine gun. Even if he might go for scout cars, I will still have now sufficient munitions to get a Panzer. And there we go, the lightest machine gun opening up there. Conscripts already suffering rather heavily there. Ooh-rowing up on the rear, but it's not going to help much there. Taking some nasty losses there. Many of the conscripts go down by the fence, and the grenadiers quickly move up there to avoid being flanked. And taking up, going for the light to make a nice company. Grenadiers sneaking up there. And I'm going for his cut-off point. And note here that he's actually aware that I've likely got something here, so he's going to avoid it, which is definitely not a bad move, but it looks like he might in fact be going for my cut-off points. So that's rather interesting. Here we note an engagement between the Grenadiers and the conscripts. Again, larger Grenadier force, light machine gun. Might even fire for the rifle grenade here. And immediately 2 conscripts go down, the rest are not looking awfully dandy. And there we go, scout cut moving in to support, like this, and then by some mechanized corps, or other unit, or brigade for that matter. Mechanized infantry brigade would have been likely the name. Quickly shifting the Grenadiers now to retake the point. Shifting forces over here to deal with that. There we go, the very nasty, very potent Scout Car Flamethrower Engineer combo. Not something I am a huge fan of, that's for sure. And there go my Grenadiers getting engaged. And I immediately hit the retreat. I probably should have gotten the Panzerfaust off before that, but again I might have lost the squad while I'm trying to do that. It has a slightly nasty animation, but I do quickly get the MG42 out there, realizing that, well, if I don't, that scout car is going to be going after that one next, and the Grenadiers are going to die no matter what. The conscripts were pretty quick to get up for being penned, and a Grenadier squad is lost. Panzer Grenadiers on the way, scout car on the way. And Grenadiers going to counterattack. I have absolutely no intention of letting Raindrop get that fuel point. In fact, I've now been denying him of most of his fuel as well. There we go, Grenadiers versus the conscript. Already, there we go. Boris bit the dust. There goes scout car rolling in. Jan 1 moving up, and there we go, taking a few shots there at the rear. And scout car arriving as well. Conscripts there beating about here. So of course we know now that Raindrop has gone for the very terms and infantry powerful guards combined arms structure, which allows them to hit the dirt. And of course later with them submachine guns. And there we go, scout car got the Soviet one. And I immediately cancelled the auto cannon. I was considering, but seeing how much I was doing without it, I decided not to do it. Simply because it's not worth it at the moment against infantry. It's absolutely rubbish. Again, just like the Stu, it was supposed to have gotten an AoE buff, and it did not happen. And again, all for those saying, but you know, the Stu was no patch, no said it did not happen. Doesn't matter, otherwise we are convinced even then, Stu did have AoE. It was still firing high explosive rounds. Silly people. Keep claiming the Stuke was a tank destroyer. It was not. Trust me, I know that. I've studied that very intently. There we go, counterattack going on. We're seeing conscripts now supported by guards, rifle infantry. And engaging the combat engineers right here, tearing through them. Doesn't quite get the squad though, sadly. Infantry moving up. Bomb grenade and quick retreating, only getting one there it seems like. MG quickly moving up to support. Grenadiers quickly pulling up. Conscript guards infantry applying pressure. Scout car pull back for repairs. Half track on the way to help reinforce in the field. Though again, that's really only what is good for unless you upgrade it. The machine gun is currently largely useless. And there we go. Grenade took out several of my Grenadiers. Rifle grenade did not quite achieve the same. And there you go. Conscript's going to try and flank. MG going to quickly turn about to deal with those. And there you go, the scout car also rolling out. Conscripts quickly dropping. And there you go, the half-track rolling up as well. And again, doesn't really do much damage at all, for example, compared to the scout car, Soviet or German for that matter. It's quite odd. There you go, infantry quickly retreated.
Shoots in here.
Desperately going to reinforce troops there, and soon time to look over at Raindrop, but not quite yet. He is now shifting troops over to the right hand side. Again, very aggressive infantry play from Raindrop. Though certainly also a bit reliant on the more considerably now easy and cheaper tactic of the scout car, but seems to have decided not to bother with that after the appearance of more mechanized forces, which could put a stop to that. Troops continue to reinforce. Pack on the way in case he decides now, of course, to push his advantage further, for that matter, if he'd actually build any fuel caches. But so far he's staying in the realm of infantry. Now, I'm not sure why I did that with a half-track. I suppose I was just trying to intimidate him. But again, currently the German half-track needs an MG buff. It is currently, well, quite frankly, useless. It does very little, which is definitely a shame. But also rushing up my troops, since I know I can just have them finally reinforce the last bit up there at the half-track. Pioneer shifted over there to actually begin retaking some territory there, or at least taking it, which I probably should have been doing earlier. But again, new on this map, and turns out my opponent and me went for the same direction. Panzer Grenadiers moving up there, and in fact now time to look at Raindrop. Bun grenade here doesn't do much. It's occasionally rather rubbish, and we're noting he's actually got the anti-tank grenade, and this half-track might soak up some of the fire, but still not looking good. And there go anti-tank grenades begin raining down. Half-track has been nerfed, so it's actually considerably easier now to knock out with such measures. There go rifle grenades going off. Panzer grenades doing what they can. Close to Vet-22. Guards infantry applying pressure as well. Upgrade with a light machine gun. Scout car needs to get away. Get away. Schnell. But sadly I'm not fast enough. In fact, I'm a bit absent-minded in that regard. And I might in fact lose it, which is actually pretty poor. And there we go. 2 shots from the anti-tank rifle and it goes down. Bit of a shame there.
Where do you need us?
Grenadiers quickly popping up.
Make it quick.
And finally getting one of the fuel points in a more proper fashion. Although also now faxing him, sending combat units the other way with flamethrowers. Grenadiers with light machine gun engaging here, the Guards infantry. Grenadiers flanking about. And now we're seeing the first Soviet troops being equipped with the PPS-41. They later actually made an even cheaper variant, the PPS-43. Also, a fun fact about the PPS-41, the German army captured millions of them. In fact, they captured so many, they began basically converting them towards using German ammunition. There goes spotting the huge, vast mass of conscripts. Quickly trying to get out of that one. 12 kills on these Grenadiers with the machine gun. There we go. Ooh-rahing up, straight into the machine gun fire. Not necessarily the best idea. And Vet-22 for these lovely Grenadiers. Going to make them harder for him to deal with. And there we go. MG42 continues to beat the snot out of them. More Panzer Grenadiers arriving from the Feldherrnhalle. And we're seeing the conscripts setting up for larger wave assault, while I'm securing the center with a machine gun and the Panzer Abwehrkanone. But note here, 5 squads of infantry right there for him. A rifle grenade going off. Doesn't actually do much. But at least parts me time to pull back my infantry while the Panzer Grenadiers move up. And building up the support armor core. Panzer Grenadiers moving up. We have training and discipline. Use it. Good job, Heinz. Troops certainly needed that reminder. They go immediately up. One Vet-22 conscript squad. In that sense, I've been doing slightly better. But map control wise, he's definitely got the advantage. I've got the center, which is certainly giving me some lever in determining how to use my troops, but he's still striking here and there. And there go rifle going off. A bit of ooh-rahing to get out of that. Ballon grenades going up. Panzer grenades hitting from several flanks. Catching the bastards. Another Geballte Ladung, and again, not really achieving much. It's an awfully expensive upgrade, which can really end up doing not much. They got Panzer Grenadiers firing away, light machine guns, assault rifles. Also note, he's got plenty of resources. Consider back to beginning using them, but there we go. Conscript squad on the run. German infantry advances. There we go. Quickly dispatched. Although also rather forced retreat a lot of my troops. But also Vet-22 Panzer Grenadier squad, and that's really where they begin getting into their own. When they begin getting that Vet-22 upgrade, which rather makes them a lot tougher. And of course Vet-23 also makes them a lot more lethal. Quickly dispatching the Grenadiers to sort that one out. Quick rifle grenade there, doesn't quite succeed, but the grenadiers nonetheless will apply some pressure with the light machine guns. And the Panzers once more left to reinforce me now. In fact, him getting a sniper, so very heavy tier 1, although now we do also see that the Tank Corps Battalion Command is going up here for Raindrop. And quickly dropping in, hitting the dirt, and I'm, in this case, actually pulling back and actually losing another grenadier. There we go. Legging it. Very close to getting veterans for this grenadier squad. That's definitely going to pay off. There we go. Full advance over the right-hand side. Quickly opening up on those. Panzer Grenadiers advancing, realizing I need more infantry to actually hold out against all of his infantry. And there we go, going to flank the MG42, though hopefully I can get my infantry in quick enough to cover that flank. And there we go, immediately getting a T-34-76. Though I'm pretty sure I could have had that out earlier. There we go, Panzer Grenadiers rifle grenade quick going off there and not actually doing much. But the Panzer Grenadiers are tearing into the conscripts, quickly dropping several of them. Guards infantry advancing as well. And there we go, one squad of conscripts is down for Raindrop. A considerable loss. And trying to get that Guards infantry on the retreat, or at least do as much damage as possible. Forces reinforcing, and there we go, the T-34-76 arriving. And a minor engagement over in the right flank with another veteran 2 conscript squad with the submachine guns. And another rifle grenade, again, time to dodge that. And Sniper clearing out here things on the right flank, opening up for his T-34 of course, the bastard. But at the same time a Sturmgeschütz has arrived. Again, the Stug does need AoE, because again, the patch never said it, but also because it was actually not just a tank destroyer. It's a very common misconception, but it rather fails to grasp German doctrine. There we go, quickly going to ram, of course also occupied trying to get that damn sniper, and my troops were slightly not following orders, which was a damn bloody shame. Quickly going to recruit that pack, quickly going to reinforce with everything I can at the front line, not looking good here. And of course he's pouring in with infantry, conscripts. Recruiting that pack, going to get that damn T-34. Fire firemen now. And there you go, the T-34 went down, MG going to shift to cover that angle of approach. Grenadiers moving out with a light machine gun. Storming up one part of the assault. Looking very nasty there. And there you go, the MG42 is on the retreat. And veterancy fleet for the Grenadiers, increasing accuracy, going to definitely make them lethal. With a light machine gun and rifles. And they're in fact going to recruit the pack to aim it at the Stug and knock it out, the bastard. The troops reinforcing, troops marching forward, the Panzer are simply being rushed forwards to try and contain this. This is a bit of a disaster. Grenadiers getting caught there in the centre, need to get out of there, hitting the dirt. But even that won't help much against the veterans fleet Grenadiers. And there go a quick front grenade. Only kills one though. And there we go, slowly being forced back once more. Conscripts and Guards infantry holding up behind the wreckage of the T-34, holding back the vile fascists. Dimitri and his units leads forward into the line of fire. And note there, the button grenade did absolutely nothing on the Guards infantry, and I really think the button grenade needs to be looked into a bit, considering how much munition it costs and what effect it actually has. But there you go, nonetheless, soldiering on. Quickly rushing back forwards, fresh infantry. 33 kills in these Grenadiers, by the way. MG42 setting up. And there you go, grenade almost wiping out. Again, there's a considerable difference in the effect. And snipers perhaps getting a bit too clever for their own good. And looks like he's clearly waiting for another T-34 in 76. Also no fuel caches, one I can imagine he went for it. In that sense, he's slightly sabotaging, so trying to catch the snipers up there with the Grenadiers. And the conscripts there finally retreating in the face of the MG42. And there you go, the snipers also quickly getting out of there. As I'm once more trying to regroup and counterattack. And I do believe it's time for the mid-game analysis. Current situation is I'm holding a nice chunk of that, but I'm not really holding a very solid position. The centre is currently rather neutral. The left-hand side is not really within anyone's control due to the cut-off point here rather being a bit of a no-man's land as well. I'm having a rather tenuous position here, and I rather need to, begin securing this way around since that's a bit more safer. And of course I need to keep on applying pressure, and I need to get some more armour out in case he decides to roll forward again, because my pack is simply not going to cut it with the sniper hanging about. For Raindrop, it's about getting some armor, but it's also about using a bit more cleverly. I mean, you shouldn't just rush in and ram anything into with the T-34 without anything to really support it up. It might disable it, but again, he was rather fortunate. I was not able to protect my pack properly, and then he still lost a T-34, which could have been doing a lot more damage to me than just knocking out that Stug. I mean, that was ultimately a waste of resource and a waste of opportunity had he been using it more aggressively and mobilely on the flanks. That was a pretty crude move by Raindrop, and while it did some damage, ultimately it cost him a lot more in the process. Partly because, of course, he also wasted the troops on recreating the pack for just a brief moment. Now, in fact, he's being pushed back. A lot of his troops are going to need to reinforce and get back into the fight, and I also just got another veteran to 3 Grenadier squad, so in that sense, I've got another advantage, which is partly through my better unit preservation, but also slightly more, stiff defense. I have some small veteran troops, which will definitely also pay off dividends. In particular, if say I was going Jaeger infantry and was decided to upgrade with Gewehr 43s, in which case they're really going to hurt. But for now, Raindrop needs to armor up. He needs to get a fuel cache up, or at least he needs to secure the fuel point there, and he needs to push, my flanks very hard, because what Raindrop is, a very brutal player, very much frontal assaults, hit the dirt, submachine gun fire. I mean, there's not much finesse, there's not much really attempt to sort of really outmaneuver me, which is rather giving me some advantages due to the fact that I have a larger quantity of light machine guns. And again, now veteran infantry, panzer grenadiers, and basically while I might have a smaller force, I can on the right times lay down a much larger amount of firepower. Though again, there are definitely some mistakes from me, but let's pub over and return. I've still not in fact chosen doctrine simply because I was a bit unsure, and while Jaeger infantry can be good, it's also a very munitions expensive doctrine, and again that's one of the reasons I'm a bit iffy about it. It's simply too heavy on the munitions, I feel. But nonetheless, a considerable infantry force. Losing the fuel point again, but we are finally seeing a second Sturmgeschütz ready to roll out in the name of the fatherland. And at this stage, I was definitely also feeling a bit nervous. Again, he was really applying on some very heavy pressure against me, very heavy. And of course, with the submachine guns hit the dirt, snipers, all that, I mean, there's not necessarily a lot of margin for error. So there you go. And there we go. Panzerabwehrkanone recruit. Shifting about troops there again. I want to control that point because then at least I know he won't be getting anything out of this, which I find is at least very valuable. Pack holding up there. And there you go, a second T-34. And this time he is setting up for a slightly more flanky assault, but at the same time actually getting in a Stug. Which again is rather all I can really afford at the moment. So the cheaper again helps good against him. Tanks also does semi alright against him, but again it does need that AoE buff to actually be implemented according to the patch notes. Otherwise the health nerf, the range nerf is not really going to help. And there you go, in fact, Gewehr 43s has been chosen. Jaeger infantry package, the Feldherrn Halle pushing in. And there we go, these veterans of the Grenadiers are just going to tear into the Soviets, although they're also quickly going to pull back. And the thing about the Gewehr 43 is it's quite an accurate weapon here in the game, and of course Jaeger infantry also sort of signifies higher training, but really with veterans of 3 it really becomes a killer.
Yes?
And of course I might also want to equip my other veterans of 3 Grenadier squad with it, In this case, we quickly see a sniper shot. And we also see here that Raindrop's beginning to get a bit desperate. He's actually beginning to just send in one sniper on his own. That could also, in fact, be taken advantage of by me. Also note him actually getting a mortar to try and provide some deeper coverage. And there we go. We actually see the veterans. He 3 grenadiers with the gear. If he's actually just knocking out conscripts with one shot by now, or these very few shots. And there you go, firing away at the pack. Sniper here needs to be very, very careful. Playing cautiously with the Stug, and in fact he's getting another sniper team, very interestingly enough, which I really think is not necessarily the best idea. Not by now, but there we go. Granatenwerfer set up in a slightly safe distance, used for defensive purposes, not offensive purposes. Very important to note in this case with the placement, to cover against any movements. And of course, if he decides to hit the turret in front of my troops, that mortar is going to have a chance. And I'm pulling back the pack to protect against any nasty snipering. And again, we are seeing here that Raindrop is playing a bit loose again with not fully reinforced squads, which denotes someone a bit cheeky. There, we're going to do down. And there we go. The Stug scores a kill. And it happens to be the snipers. That was definitely quite happy. Squad of Panzers is actually rolling up the entire left side. In fact, I'm going to hit his munitions point just to be a cheeky little sod. They're shifting over troops there. Conscripts coming under fire. The grenadiers are just tearing into them. And there we go. Immediately now they're just dropping. They're already low on health. And they're just easy targets for the grenadiers. Just note how quickly they pick them off. And there you go. T-34 rolling up. Sniper going to hit the flank, and I'm pulling back because I'm not going to send in a Stug on its own and risk, you know, it being hit, and possibly for that matter, him having more tanks about. But pack once more getting sniped out. Veterans infantry for the Guards infantry. Whoops, unattended. Going to Panzerfaust that T-34, and there we go. So he can't ram my tank. Pioneers rushing. The snipers saying no way. Grenadiers doing what they can to hold off, but ultimately they're overwhelmed. There's still the Panzer Grenadiers. And we're seeing, in fact, buttoning up, firing at the rear side with the anti-tank rifles. Could knock out the Stug. Another one on the way. Panzer is here. Fighting veteran fleet, one grenade, and only kills one man.
One of our panzers has been destroyed.
Definitely bad news there. Panzer is tearing through the conscripts, who are now also veterans in free, but ultimately the Panzer is persevere. And this Grenadier squad is actually moving up to try and Panzerfaust it, perhaps knock it out. And there we go, the Guards infantry is very much on the run, and there we go, the engine is destroyed. The T-34 won't be getting anywhere, and that third Stug will be the charm and actually get a T-34 kill. So rolling out there swiftly.
Pioneers ready for anything.
And there's nothing he really has to guard it with. And again, lots of infantry need reinforcement, although he has 3 veterans and 3 squads as well. So in that sense we'd rather equal, but there we go. Another T-34 is lost.
Grenadiers ready.
Troops are going to reinforce. Schnell, schnell. While the Panzers pull away there. In fact, I've currently, for a brief moment of time, until the combat engineers here ruin it. And also note he's actually laying down a tank mine. That's good. Well, TM-34 mine. Meant sort of anti-tank mine, but can be triggered by infantry because apparently it's so sensitive.
Panzer Grenadiers.
Putting back the Stug. Also, a slight note here of things. Probably should have mentioned that early on, but
200 points.
there might only come one more video up from me this week because I'm heading to Vancouver. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I will be off to a community event in Vancouver at Relic Studios. I will be off for a few days. I'll first be back Monday afternoon.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
And rather felt it was impractical to try and get up episodes enough for that. I might try and get up one for tomorrow. Or I'll decide time for later, but that's about it. And there we go, mine activates a few grenadiers. The Panzers continue in. Veteran 2 for these combat units. Grenadiers holding up here with Gewehr for the fleas. And there you go, just charging ahead. And suffering. And there you go, bomb grenade. and only killing one man despite landing straight in the middle of a huge infantry horde. There you go, the veterans of the conscripts got that one. Panzer's got the combat unit squad. Molotov's forcing those gentlemen away.
Awaiting fire mission. Einsatzbereit.
And a third T-34 out, and we're seeing another squad of guards infantry right there for Raindrop. Point being secured. So again, yeah, heading off to Vancouver. Hopefully you'll have a very nice trip. Maybe ask some fun questions, learn some bits. Be sure to follow me on Facebook. I'll maybe see if I can't keep people updated that way. Though, no guarantees, mind you, no guarantees. There you go, going to flank the Stug with an anti-tank grenade. Pioneers and Grenadiers moving up while I'm desperately trying to enforce rest of my troops and move those up as well. There you go. And T-34 actually hit a tiller mine I'd laid down there, so that's not going to be combat effective for some time. Going in straight there for the mortar. And I'm feeling confident I can clear out the conscript squad. And in fact, that happens in that case. He gets the mortar, but ultimately he loses a veterancy free conscript squad, which is not really good. But there we go, 42 kills on these Grenadiers. Sniper gets a kill. And those snipers almost went down. And another conscript squad on the run, with losses inflicted on the retreating Soviets. And also note, Raindrop is actually rushing for the different victory points, and I'm actually getting a Panzer IV, deciding I might want something a bit more expensive this time around, with a bit better chance of actually killing infantry. And also note here, the Stug AoE buff wouldn't actually be anywhere near the Panzer IV, it would just, you know, have a chance of actually regularly killing some infantry, plus it's also meant for clearing up troops and buildings, which again, it currently can't do to the very, very low AoE. So again, you know, I know what it's about, and again, that Stug needs that AoE buff. Schnell. And we're seeing now actually a scout car up for Raindrop, interestingly enough. Though again, it's quite cheap, so of course you might go for some lighter firepower, perhaps some light aggressive flanking, pop in a guard squad, roll in, cause some havoc in the rear lines. That could actually work out. In particular, just to send in the veterans, the free guards. That could really cause some havoc, but there we go. Panzerkampfwagen 4 arriving. Stug going to need some repairs. Grenadiers fortifying the front line. Also securing the point over there. And over there, sneaking up that flamethrower, and there we go, going in for that victory point. And immediately coming under intense fire from the Grenadiers. And immediately suffering losses despite being veterancy free. Panzer IV arrives, guards, conscripts pushing in. Car with the sniper, the bastard. And there you go, half-track moving up. We also see the T-34 repaired. This is going to turn into one hell of an engagement. T-34 moves in, and he rams the Panzer IV, but right in front of the Stug and the pack. Grenadiers continue the fight. There goes Stug, gets the kill. Guards infantry getting absolutely blasted with fire. Half track with the Kraut mower on. Pack sneaking up to take up some better shots. Grenade here against the Stug, doesn't actually do much. Panzer IV needs to pull back for repairs. Grenadiers continue to fire away. 50 kills on this squad. 4 Hero Heinz. 4 Heroes Heinz, ja. Guten Arbeit, Dietrich. Now let's just hope the Russians don't capture us. Communists flank up there, and there you go. The half-tank actually moving out a bit too confidently. And there we go. Stug secures another kill in the name of the fatherland. And the scout car quickly legs it. Stug moves up. And of course that's another reason he actually got the buff. He can also deal with troops inside these vehicles, actually to punish them a bit. And again, without the AoE though, it won't do that. So again, it's a problem with some patch changes not implemented, and that's why I'm going on about it. but also because, again, the Stuke was not just a tank destroyer. It's, again, a odd misconception among some people. But there you go, sneaking up the scout car behind my flanks. The cheeky bastard. Haxening up. And Stuke gets another kill. And there we go, the snipers on a bit of trouble, and they're going to retreat, in fact. Right past all of this. And, in fact, the Panzer IV with its machine gun got the kill. So hooray there for Heinz the machine gunner. Well, Friedrich the machine gunner probably would be a better name. But yeah, we can now see that Raindrop is beginning to get a bit desperate. He's now shifting over to the mechanized armor company as victory points are shifting out, and we're in fact going to head over to Raindrop. He could also have considered, getting a howitzer, and I know the doctrine, of course. I was in fact quite worried that he might try that. In fact, I was trying to shift out to a more mobile strategy, split out my troops a bit more, which was also one of the reasons I handled the Panzer IV, because again it's a bit more mobile and thus slightly harder to hit. You can also maneuver a bit better doing an artillery strike, so there you go. But shifting over large infantry force, we're seeing quickly these guards infantry moving up the centre. Stuke gains veterans 1. Guards, Grenadiers moving up quickly. And a riot grenade. Quickly getting another one. And again, a move for the victory point. Raindrop getting slowly more desperate, slowly more starved of resources, everything.
Area secured.
While I'm still managing a larger force, holding out every time just barely, but a bit more solidly due to the control of the centre, which makes, to a certain degree, allows me to dictate the pace of the battle. And basically allows me to dominate the nearby and most important points. And again, that also allows me to control this side, because again I control that kind of point. That's rather the advantage of such a strategy here, and of course employment. I mean, this is definitely one of the bigger 1 versus 1 maps in Company of Heroes 2. And of course there are a ton more maps. I hope I can show another one before, I have to pop off. But again, we're talking a lot of maps. We're talking new 3 versus 3 maps, 4 versus 4 maps, talking more 1 versus 1 maps. I mean, just lots of maps, and now with larger variations. Different types of maps, even the same kind of map, but that'd be, for example, not just winter, but different points on them. Medic stations, outposts, all sorts of stuff. And we actually seen this Strafniki being sent in, with Raindrop trying to redeem himself through the failure of others. There we go, another Veteran C2 Grenadier squad. Of course, I could have considered this stage also to upgrade more of my troops. And there you go, Satchel Charge in this case, though. Get out there in time. In fact, looks like he actually got one. Bastard. Which goes also the slightly more south thing. But there we go, Gewehr for the fleas. And the penal troops can't really handle that. Taking severe losses to these Grenadiers and their marksmanship. Yes, this is like shooting ducks in a pond, except the ducks are shouting in Russian. And there we go, Raindrop gives up. He has lost to the Panzergrenadier Division Feldherrn Halle. A brutal fight, a brutal 1 versus 1. He certainly had the advantage many times, but Raindrop, being a more brutish commander, rather opted for more violent frontal assault scout cars, bits on the cheaper tricks at the moment, and ultimately I was able to survive through that. Of course, I might have benefited more from an earlier doctrinal use, but I saw my way through. I had some good tactics. Rifle grenades were used liberally, so were button grenades. The vehicles were a waste, certainly. The scout car, though, perhaps the biggest, since I was actually getting some veterans, it was close to veterans too. But overall, I mean, the things I probably should take on from this map is, focus more on the left-hand side. It's more suited for the southern commander, but, doesn't say I can't, send over to someone to harass there. That, of course, is another thing, but, that, and of course, he could also have rushed for the tanks much earlier, but didn't, and that probably also cost him a bit. So, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. Hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe? Tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. This is ImperialDane saying cheers, and hoping I can get up another episode before I'm popping off to Vancouver and Relic Entertainment. If not, see you hopefully Monday, but likely Tuesday on the release day. Cheers!